What is going on, everybody? It is NexusComplex, and we're going to break down the Game 10 matchup in the RPL Season 2, putting myself and the New York Nidokings against Turt and the Majestic Gardevoirs. Coming into this game, Turt's team is very good, and the coach might be even better if I were to go out there and say that. The team is impressive, but from watching some of the replays throughout the season, it's just some of the things that they've done with the team is just kind of like impressive, you know? Like, there's good mons, obviously, but still, like, just some of the plays, some of the calls that have been made, just pretty impressive. So, really big task ahead of us this week. I am not the most optimistic about this. There's a couple Pokemon on the team that just pose a lot of problems for me, one of which I don't know if there's anything I can do to get around it. So, we'll see. Yeah, let's get into it. The top Pokemon we're going to talk about first is Zeraora, the mythical Pokemon, who, if you guys don't know, in Sword and Shield, there's an event going on right now. You can't capture it, but we could earn ourselves a shiny if we all work together through the power of teamwork and defeat 1 million of these bastards. We can get a shiny one. The shiny looks sick, but also the Pokemon itself is pretty sick. So it's really quick, strong attack. It's a mythical, so its stats are pretty nice and balanced, but it's got pretty good coverage and it can do a lot of different things. You know, it gets Plasma Fist, which is an electric type attack, will pretty much wreck anything that doesn't really resist it. It gets a ton of coverage moves like Play Rough, Knock Off, Grass Knot. There's so many more, but those are the most common that I normally see. Also gets Close Combat. It's a really just strong Pokemon in general. I mean, it's a mythical, so obviously, but it's been really good in OU so far. It's given me a lot of problems, and I don't, you know, outside of like Seismitoad and maybe like Trace Gardevoir, because it has Voltazorb as its ability, I don't really see anything that really outright resists it and can give it too many problems. So Zeraora is really tough to check, but that's not the Pokemon that I'm the most worried about. The Pokemon I'm the most worried about is Jirachi. Jirachi is Steel Psychic, and that typing gives me a lot of problems on my team. Delmice can maybe do something against it, but Jirachi gets pretty good coverage moves, so I could be gone. And also, like, he gets Stab Steelworker, so he gets Stab on Steel moves because of Steelworker, but Jirachi can just lay into him with Iron Hits and things like that and really just give me issues. My only Pokemon that really give Jirachi a hard time would be Hydreigon because of the dark typing, but Jirachi is faster than Hydreigon, and a lot of times Jirachi will run a Choice Scarf. Salazzle's the only thing that could outspeed Jirachi with a Choice Scarf, but I don't think a Flamethrower is going to kill Jirachi, and Jirachi will literally destroy Salazzle with a Zen Headbutt. So, Jirachi is a big issue. It is another mythical Pokemon, but I just don't see a good way around Jirachi. I feel like if Jirachi faints, one of my Pokemon's going to faint unless I make insanely good calls or Turt just makes a really bad move and decides to sacrifice Jirachi. But I don't have anything that just checks Jirachi right off the bat. Next up is Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl, pretty standard. Kind of versatile though. It's a pretty good physical attacker. A lot of times it's just used as support because of Prankster. It's one of the better Prankster Pokemon out there. And predominantly you see it as a screen setter with Light Clay, but it doesn't have to be that. You could throw Choice Band onto it, you could throw like a bunch of different items on it, and it's strong enough. And its signature moves like Spirit Break and False Surrender are both pretty good, and they have their situational uses to where, like, you know, they make more sense than other moves. So depending on what type of Grimmsnarl shows up, if he brings it, could be a issue for sure. Salazzle would be a pretty good check to Grimmsnarl if I could get a Sludge Bomb off on it, but since it's got Prankster, it can literally set up a Screen or Reflect and then increase its longevity even further. Next up is a Pokemon at this point of the season that hasn't had much use on this team, but you have to be aware of what it can do, is Duraludon. So Steel Dragon. So I think part of the reason it hasn't come that often is because it shares typing with Jirachi, and Jirachi has just been so good, which I think Jirachi is literally like in the conversation for MVP at this point for the season. I think in terms of kill death spread, it's got one of the best spreads in the league. So if you don't want to double down on steel typing because of fire types or whatever, you don't bring Duraludon and Jirachi. But Duraludon is a really good special attacker. It's not the fastest Pokemon in the world, but with Steel Dragon, it's got some really good coverage. And it also isn't weak to fire or fairy, I don't think, because of the resistances there. So Duraludon's definitely got some usability. And just because it hasn't been in that many games for this team doesn't mean that it won't come, so I do have to be aware of what it can do. Next up is Rhyperior, who's another Pokemon that hasn't been used the most on this team, but is a really good Pokemon. A lot of times it will use like Weakness Policy, but that, it's not a guarantee that it's going to use Weakness Policy. It gets Lightning Rod, not that it's really worried about electric moves anyways, but the big thing is Rock Solid is the name of the ability, and it literally takes reduced damage, super effective attacks, so it increases its longevity further, and it's already a pretty tough Pokemon to take down. So unless you get like a super effective attack on it, Rhyperior is going to stand up pretty strong against it. Rhyperior hasn't been used much on this team, but against my team I could see it being an issue. Yeah, I don't have many great just like checks for Rhyperior. Obviously Rhyperior is a little bit slower, so you're going to outspeed it, but it's not really worried about it. It's good enough defensively where it can stand up to some hits, especially with that ability. Next up, we're going to talk about Mantine. Water flying type, pretty bulky, going to be tough to get around. The water flying gives it some nice like resistances and gets rid of some of the weaknesses that it had. Obviously, it's 4 times weak to electric. But when you don't have electric Pokemon on your team, like this guy, that's not so much an issue. Dhelmise really isn't a great check to it because it's a grass type. So the flying type is just going to come back and hit it. I'd have to basically throw some electric moves on my Pokemon that aren't stab and hope that I can get a nice free easy Thunderbolt. But if that doesn't work, it's going to be very hard to get rid of Mantine. Especially because it can roost and usually it comes with leftovers, and it's one of those Pokemon that's just there to eat up hits and heal itself, being a nice little check to several of the things on my team. And I just don't really see, I don't know, it's almost like I feel like I'm coming in with like a defeatist mindset. I'm just looking at this team like, damn dude, I don't see a way that I could kill 6 of these Pokemon with my team. I feel like this team is just that superior to me in general. It's just like, I feel like this team is a good matchup against my team, and I'm just lacking some things that have been made apparent here later in the season. Next is Virizion, the grass fighting type, legendary Pokemon. Not the best, but it's still pretty good. Grass fighting is not a unique typing, but it's not that common, and Virizion makes pretty good use of it. Also, since it's legendary, its stats are kind of evenly distributed, so it could be kind of bulky. It's not nearly as defensive of a typing as Cobalion has, or Terrakion, and I don't think it does the things that they do that make them more useful, like Terrakion can set rocks and things like that. Cobalion steel typing make him a little bit more difficult to get rid of. He can be a bulky pivot. I think Virizion can be a pivot too, but obviously not to the level of those. That's why it's a little bit lower tier. But on this team, it was great value for the pick. I mean, when you're talking about one of your bottom 4 Pokemon in terms of the tiers is legendary, like that's a pretty good indicator that this team is pretty strong from top to bottom. Next up is a lower tier Pokemon that I think has a lot of interesting qualities and can do a lot of things to hurt me, which is Psyglyph, which is Psychic Flying. One thing about Psychic Pokemon is they seem to have pretty good move coverage. So a lot of Psychic types get like Energy Ball and Shadow Ball and, you know, Thunderbolt and things like that. Like the Psychic Pokemon seem to have a little bit more of a move pool advantage. And Psyglyph is one of those Pokemon that gets like Energy Ball and things like that. So if I make a bad call and leave like Seismitoad or somebody like that in there, it could definitely be one hit for sure against Psyglyph. For sure with one hit to Seismitoad. So that's something I'm going to have to think about. Gardevoir checks it decently well, but it's not a one-on-one matchup, so we'll see. Psyglyph, a lot of times it likes to boost itself too and just make itself like super difficult to get rid of. So it really depends on what's going on. Basically, if it comes in there, I gotta try to get rid of it quick. Try to minimize what it can do. Hydreigon is a decent answer to it, but I don't know. I feel like I'd have to overexpose Hydreigon in this matchup. Next up is Kanto Rapidash. Really fast, hits pretty hard. Doesn't have the move coverage of the Galarian form of Rapidash, but it doesn't necessarily need to have it. You could be fast or toxic on this thing, or just literally use it for like Flare Blitz, or just almost like a revenge killer. It is not the fastest Pokemon on this team because of Zeraora, but it easily outspeeds anything on my team. I think it's got base 105 speed, and Hydreigon has 97 speed, which is pretty good. Salazzle outspeeds Rapidash at 115, but there's not much Salazzle can do to Rapidash to really hurt it. Like, I don't think a Sludge Bomb will kill it. So Rapidash is pretty much going to outspeed. If it comes, it's going to be very difficult for me to take it out, especially because it would have to be, like, Seismitoad's a really good check for it, but I don't see a world in which Seismitoad gets to hit Rapidash with a hit without getting switched out or getting destroyed by something right afterwards. And last on the team is Volibee, which was a D tier pick, but with Eviolite, it functions a lot like Mandibuzz. It can be a defog user, use Foul Play. Dark Flying is a pretty good defensive typing, so it could come into a lot of things. It resists knockoff. It losing the Eviolite would be really bad for it, but it's not like it, you know, if it comes and loses Eviolite, oh well, that's fine. I think the rest of this team can pick up the slack for it. Yeah, this team is pretty good from top to bottom, and like I said, there's some Pokemon that don't get used that much in competitive that Turt has made a good use of. But also the top Pokemon on the team, like Zeraora and Jirachi, are just really good. They're really good Pokemon. Jirachi especially has been getting used extremely well. It's just been stepping in for it. It's taking hits and just taking things out. That's why I could easily see it win MVP at the end of the season, because it's just been KOing people left and right. It's been a really good Pokemon. Honestly, Jirachi is the Pokemon I'm the most concerned about on this team. And that's not even really talking about the fact that Ironhead can flinch too. So, we shall see. If I had to choose 6 Pokemon that would show up, I would choose Zeraora, Jirachi, Grimmsnarl, Rhyperior, Virizion, and I think Psyglyph gives my team some troubles. But I could also see Mantine because it's bulky, it could be a pivot. See any of the combination of those 7 showing up. I'm trying to come up with something that would help me get a win this week, but it's going to be tough. My team does not match up well against this team. So, we'll see. We need to pick up a W in the next 3 games to make the playoffs. And I don't want to just get, like, backdoor my way into the playoffs by, like, having, like, a losing streak and then getting in the playoffs, because that won't feel good. So I like trying to pick a win. Picking this win up would make me feel a lot better going into the playoffs. But just not seeing it, guys. I'm having a hard time seeing the win con in this game. Alright, so Zeraora, Jirachi, Psyglyph, Mantine, Rapidash, and Grimmsnarl. Okay, not the strongest team from top to bottom, but Zeraora and Jirachi definitely are an issue. I start Salazzle, he goes Jirachi. I see the Zen Headbutt coming, I switch into Xatu. Takes that fairly well. Good Nightshade, get some damage off there. Back into Salazzle. Darkest Lariat hit me really hard. Really hard. So I think... Oh man, I should have Sludge Bombed there. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know why Toxic. That does nothing for me now. Salazzle's gone. So now my team is slow, except for Xatu. Prankster does nothing for me here, but I do get the switch out. Jirachi just... 25% is more than what I thought would happen there. Switch into Seismitoad. U-turn, so it's... I'm fairly certain that this thing is scarfed at this point. I don't know what I was thinking here, why I stayed on the Psyglyph, like what was I thinking? So now Seismitoad's gone. So I'm playing very well, if you guys didn't know. I'm playing very well right now. I've already lost 2 Pokemon by turn 7. Air Slash hits me pretty hard. Thunderbolt doesn't kill. Not that it would really matter, Psyglyph has done what it needed to at this point. Switching out to Zeraora. I don't want any parts of that. Going to Xatu. I'm trying to bait the Plasma Fists. But Calm Minds. So that is a bust. Literally wasted a turn for the switch in for nothing. Get the Grass Knot. So that's fine. Xatu eats that up good, but I can't really switch effectively. So Aura Sphere, expecting the switch in because of Thunderbolt, I'm guessing. Switches out, so I don't know if it has an electric type move on it at this point. Nightshade hitting Grimmsnarl again. It's got toxic damage. I'm hoping I can take this thing down. It's gonna rest off. It's got a berry. Wakes right back up. I don't really have anything to mess with it. I don't even know why I switched in on the Grimmsnarl. Spirit Break comes. Gardevoir takes it somewhat well, but special attack drop. And yeah, we're in a bad spot. 50% after the special attack drop is nice, but there goes Gardevoir. So now my team is just pretty much beaten to hell already. Mantine's going to come in and just completely laughs at anything Hitmonlee is going to do to it. I don't have much on Hitmonlee right now. I don't have any electric type moves anymore. Mantine's going to try to Toxic, which it's nice that we missed that. But I've got no Pokemon with any type of electric moves. Dark Pulse, there's no way in which I kill Mantine with Dark Pulse on Hydreigon. I just can't do enough damage. Grimmsnarl comes back out after I switch to Xatu, trying to get the bounce. It's going to bulk up. It's going to rest off the damage, and I'm just having a tough go of it. There's no way that I can kill this thing before it gets back up to be able to rest again. We both switch. Zeraora versus Hitmonlee. I lived the Thunderbolt. Hit the close combat, and I actually fainted a Pokemon, which at this point in the game I wasn't sure that that was going to happen. But now Jirachi is just there. It's going to outspeed everything on my team, and there's not much I can do against it. So there we go. Flinch, and that's pretty much what's going to happen the rest of this battle. Xatu is now at 8%. If I can hit this Dark Pulse, I think I can kill it. And I flinch. So, yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I can't do anything to this Jirachi. It outspeeds everything, and everything's going to die to Iron Head. So that's it. This is going to be a 5-0 loss. Another loss on the season. We're now going to fall to 4-5. We're still in the playoff picture, but things aren't looking great. There's still a chance that we could miss the playoffs if I keep losing. Like I said, I have to win one more game to guarantee my spot. But even still, I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to backdoor my way into the playoffs. It's been a rough second half of the season, man. It's been a rough second half of the season. So hopefully we can right the ship and win one of these last 2 games. Hats off to Turt. That was a really good strategy, really good team build. I made some really bad moves, but they just played a good game, and they had a good team, and there's a reason they're one of the top teams in the league, and yeah, we'll see what they do in the playoffs. I'm interested to see. Obviously, coming into this league, I didn't think I was going to win the whole thing. I'm still learning. This is only my second season of really playing competitive. So I didn't think I was just going to come in here and be like the best, like a freaking prodigy or something. But, you know, it's still a little disheartening to see, like, knowing that I can play better and come up with better strategies, and I'm just not doing it, and I'm not winning games. It's just a little disheartening. But that's how you learn, man. You can't get better without failing first. So we're going to try to keep it going into hopefully the playoffs and maybe right some of the wrongs that happened this season. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. I'm going to be doing a season in review video and kind of talk about the MVP and some of the better Pokemon throughout the season. And expect that in a couple days, maybe sometime next week. And then yeah, if I make to the playoffs, we will see a playoff video, and hopefully there'll be more than one, but I'm hoping to at least have one playoff video. I'm hoping to at least make the damn playoffs. So yeah, that's all I got, guys. Thank you for joining me. Love you guys. And as always, we'll catch you guys on the next one.